pretty much that's all we do. And then we do a bunch of recruiting via social media, all organic growth. So I think those are kind of our strong suits. We're going to focus on that today with you guys. Just, you know, the telesales approach. Has anyone sold telesales at all? Couple? Yeah, cool. Here and there. Cool. So pros and cons to everything. We'll go over some things that work for us with telesales and then how we're building through social media. So maybe you want to start with the telesales approach?
Yeah, so
I think you came in day one doing telesales. I actually started off my first 6 months in home and then transitioned to telesales. So
absolutely. So all I pretty much know is telesales. I've been in one home, didn't work out. And so I've only done telesales. 100% of my business that I put in has been telesales only. So that's all I know. So I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have about that. But one thing I wanted to kind of talk about today was setting the proper expectations and really having the right type of mindset. So I don't know if anybody's planning on transitioning into telesales or when you hire, how to hire people and bring them in and do telesales. But one thing that I've noticed to help me as well as the people that, you know, I brought on since I started is really just having a proper mindset and setting the proper expectations. Obviously, if you've done in-home before, you have your specific days where you book appointments, different things like that. We do things a little differently. So we do what's called one call close. So basically, if I have you on the phone right now, I'm looking to try to close you on the spot. I don't really want to set any type of appointment with you or anything like that. That's just kind of how we do it. Multiple ways to do it, but that's what we do and it's worked. So setting that right expectation for yourself, knowing the hours that you have to put in. Depending on your goals, everybody has different goals, right? But depending on your goals, the hours you're gonna have to put in, the amount you're gonna have to invest, write those things down and stick to them. Never change. Only time I would ever recommend changing how much you're gonna invest is if you go up, never down. So that's what I would say, just setting those proper expectations to yourself, holding yourself accountable. I work from home, I have 2 kids, a wife, they're always constantly running around the house, so it's very easy to get distracted. But have those non-negotiables. You know, if I'm telling Josh, hey Josh, this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold myself accountable, but I'm gonna allow him to hold me accountable as well. So we did a lock-in. I'm away from my family, we come in for a week in a home, and we're just grinding it out. Because we know ultimately where the focus goes, the energy flows. So just doing things like that, having that accountability partner, setting those proper expectations, having the right mindset will definitely take you super far. So that's one thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing to start with when it comes to telesales is the psychology behind it, kind of how to set yourself up mentally for what you're doing, right? So with the telesales approach, like you said, we're doing a one-call close. Now, with that approach, when we call people, we're not necessarily calling them. I don't even think we do that with the in-home, right? We don't call people, hi, this is Josh with Family First Life. I have 3 carriers next week. When I get a few more in, we don't really do that, right? So what I do when we call people, it's a very broad approach, right? So I don't ever say anything that's not true, but I make it very apparent that I'm the one-stop shop. I'm the guy that can, answer all the questions right then, right now. That's it, right? So when I call someone, the psychology of the telesale is that when I call you is, hey, John, this is Josh calling from the Benefit Center about the request that you guys put in for the life insurance information. And then when I go into that presentation, I'm letting them know that I have access to all the companies. I can look through, I can do this, I can do that. But I'm setting it up as a broker, right? So that's the way I set it up. Now, when you look at the actual telesales approach in terms of, let's go back to our lead flow, right? Because sometimes with the telesales, lots of people don't have as much success working the CRM leads on telesales, but that's all we run. And I think the main thing is how you approach your leads, right? So the number of leads that you buy, we always buy at least 100 leads. At least 100 when we do telesales. We upload them to phone burner, non-negotiable, we have to use phone burner. So when we take those 100 leads and we put them to our phone burner, we call them through cycles. We triple down everybody. So if you have 100 leads and you triple dial, that's 300 phone calls. That's one, right? That's one cycle. Well, that's 8 to 11 or whatever dial session you guys want to do, whatever time. The way we do it is 8 to 11. We'll call through. And our goal is not to sell and not to do anything but to hit a certain target that we can control. I can't make someone buy from me. I can't be like, yo, buy this right now. I can't. But what I can do is I can purchase X amount of leads and I can call them X amount of times. So I always focus on things that I can control. 100 leads, if I triple dial them, that's 300 phone calls. That's one session. Take an hour, 2 hour break, lunch, work out, whatever I want to do. come back again, 1 o'clock, 12:30, whatever, 12 o'clock, and I go again for another 3 hours. And each time I need to work through my leads again. That's another 300 phone calls. Well, then I break, come back, 3 more hundred. That's 900 phone calls. So with telesales, we spend more time on the phone, but what we're doing is we're always doing income producing activities. So when I make the point, the call is to make money. I'm not calling to book, to then show up, to then see if you're there or not, and then see if I can present to you. I'm calling and I'm doing it now and I'm getting paid now. Like that's the approach, right? So that's how we work through the leads. What you don't want to do, telesales will not work if you don't want to be on the phones, because what happens is that 100 leads that you go through, if it's kind of like if you want to chop down a tree and you just take this axe and you hit up here and then you hit down here and you hit down here, the tree's not going to fall, right? You have the same over and over and over. So it's about the points of contact on your leads, right? So that's why I say when you call through one time, you got to go back again and again. And we typically do that for 2 days straight, which means that's 3, 3, 3, that's 9, 18. So you call that lead 18 times in the 2 days. And usually we buy new leads every 2, max 3, depending on what you got out of it. But what we're seeing, just so you guys can see kind of expectation wise, is, for example, roughly when we get about 100 1 months or instant leads, we're able to protect 3 to 5 families. That's a big deal, right? So, and if turnover, we'll go get more and we'll keep doing the same thing. And then you can start implementing things like your live transfers and other things that become inbound and whatever. But honestly, those are the same thing as you picking the phone up, calling them, and they just cut out the dial time. So that's the lead flow. You got to have at least 100 leads, no more than 120, because again, you have to work through them properly. I had a guy, they saw that was a discount code. He decided to buy 600 leads, and now he's calling through 600 leads. And guess what? Well, he's hitting the tree here, here, and here, because he's calling the lead. Even if he triple dials, he calls it one time, and there's so many that when he finally works through them, it's been 2 or 3 days, and he's calling it every once in a while. But the psychology behind the telesales is that when I call this lead, like right now, if someone called me, I'm doing this, I'm not answering the phone. Who is that? I might look at it. You call me again. Who the heck is calling me, man? One more time, I'm like, I might need to take this as an emergency, right? And that's the first cycle. I still might not even answer the phone at all. That's 3 missed calls on my phone. So I'll come back later, the second dial session, I see 3 more. By nighttime, the third, I'm like, hey, why do you keep calling me, man? And that's the point of contact. That's how you get people to answer their phone. It's the same way with your in-home. You got to bang the phones, right? So that's how you approach the first step of it. And then you want to go into kind of getting credibility. We have a process, guys. And the way we go about it is we make the phone call. We gain credibility. We explain to them the point of this call, like why, what are we going to do today? What's going to happen? That way you're not confused. After we explain that, we find the why. We pick some options. We close. So we're going to go over kind of getting credibility and how you explain what's going to happen today.
Absolutely. So outside of obviously putting in the dials, putting in the activity, I think the next important thing is going to be to get that credibility as fast as possible, because I can't see you, you can't see me. We're not on Zoom with the client, so it's strictly over the phone. So the first thing you want to try to do is gain credibility as fast as possible. So my intro is really, really short. Hey, Charlie, this is Austin. I'm just giving you a call back in regards to the state-regulated life insurance request that you put in. Looks like you put down your date of birth here as 1/1/1993. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper. I'll have you off the phone here in a sec. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Okay.
She gets that pen and paper. Now the ball's in my court. I'm giving her some information, my national producer number. I have to write down my name. If you want to give her your number, whatever. But I have her physically write that stuff down. And the faster I can get her to that point, I have all the control. So that credibility is extremely important. And I think, honestly, that's once you actually get them on the phone, getting to that point as fast as possible is going to be, the most important thing. Yeah.
So in the beginning, guys, with the telesales, just to make sure, they don't have any idea whatsoever what you guys are doing behind the screen. Even in person, they're like, I don't know, let me see your license, and you're right in front of them, right? And they're still kind of sketched out. So when it comes to telesales, they can't see you. They don't know what you're doing. They hear the click, click, click. So you want to set the expectations up front, be very clear. That way there's no surprises with people. So after you get the credibility, which is giving them your license, your credentials, whatever, they'll write those things down. But the next part is that I want to go ahead and explain to you guys exactly what will happen today. That way you're not upset when I ask you for your banking. That way you're not upset when I ask you to do an application. That way you're not upset when I ask you your medical and you're like, well, that's personal. Well, I just told you earlier I was going to ask you medical questions, right? So I want to ask things up front. And the way I set the table and kind of explain the process is very simple. So once I provide my credentials up front, the next thing is, so John, the way this works is very simple. My job's a little bit different from the sales reps that we typically send out to your house. I deal more so with the medical side of things. So what I'll be doing today is I'll ask you about 5 medical questions. Now, depending on how you answer those questions, that will give me a solid idea of which one of the companies you might be able to qualify for. And now, I don't make the final decisions. That's up to them. So I want to be very transparent with you. We're not going to be able to commit to anything today or buy anything today, because before we can do that, the insurance company has to approve you for it first. So the most we can do is submit an application on your behalf and see if they're willing to even give you any coverage. So we'll do that today. Any questions? No. Well, we proceed. Now, later on, they tell me, well, I don't want to do that. Why are you asking me about my medical? I just want to quote. Well, I just told you the process. This is why I'm asking you those questions, right? So we explain the process. That way there's no, any questions that pop up randomly. But outside of that once you set that table and explain that process, we ask a lot of power questions, right? And power questions are pretty much questions that we use to filter out and figure out, is this client somebody that I can help? Is this somebody that's even qualified for my product or service? Can this person pay for my product or service? And should I take the time to go over this with them or not, right? And the way we do that is by asking good questions. And the power questions are things like, so John, because we're doing telesales, remember, and a lot of times with telesales, especially with the leads that we work, it ends up being final expense a lot, right? And with that, that means they're older. And if they're older, they're not so great with technology. And some of them don't know what an email is. So because of that, when it comes to telesales, I want to know, in my brain, I know the carriers that I have access to, right? We have Aetna, who has a security question. We have America with the text message option now. We have a few that are telesale friendly, right? So when I'm asking questions, before I waste 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or whatever it takes to go through an entire presentation, John, now if I send you over some information, can this phone take text messages, for example? No? Do you not have a text message, like a cell phone at all? No? Do you have an email, John? No? What can I do? Nothing. Because I've got to go to this guy's house, or I can't do this, so I'll lose my license because of that. So I asked those power questions up front. I also asked this guy because I want to know, does he have a bank account? Does he not? Does he have a Direct Express card if he's on SSI? So, hey, John, now, are you working full-time or are you retired? Oh, no, I'm on no disability. Okay, not a problem. And now, is that going into a bank account like most people, or is that through the Direct Express card? Oh, no, that's through my Direct Express card. Immediately, I know which one of my carriers are wiped out that I can't use, right? So it just allows me to kind of filter through those things there. I asked the question of, perfect. Now, John, am I the first person you've been able to talk to about this, or have you been, have you been looking for this for a while now? Well, if he's been looking for this for a while now, well, that tells me, okay, this guy has been looking, he hasn't bought anything. One of two things happening. He doesn't like the prices that he's seeing, or he's not being able to qualify because he keeps getting declined with his health. So again, it allows me to kind of isolate whatever issues he's having. That way I don't have the same issues. I can get the deal closed. Because if the issue is that he doesn't like the prices, well, if I could figure out what he's getting, I might be able to serve him a little bit better and set transparent expectations up front, or pitch him a certain option that he's looking for. So if he says, no, I've been looking around for a while now, I just haven't been able to find anything that I like. Okay, not a problem. Now, John, I'm a broker. I want to make sure that I don't show you any of the same things you've already seen before, right? So that makes him feel good, but it's a way for me to pull out the actual truth of what he's getting offered. So now he's going to tell me, so I say, I don't want to show you anything that you've already seen before. So can you tell me which companies you've already looked at, or what approximately how much they're quoting you for how much coverage? Well, if I can get that information to figure out what he was being quoted and for what amount of coverage, now I can show him something else that's either below that if it's a price sale, or I can at least set the proper expectations. John, hey, sorry, man. Look, I want to be super transparent with you. You're 75 years old. You have this, and this, and this. You're not going to qualify for $250,000 of a term policy. Now, in this scenario with most people like yourself, or I can start asking more questions. No, why do you need this 250? What is it going to be for? And I can figure out how to solve this problem with the whole life plan, right? But the power questions are super important because that's how you identify what problems they currently have so that you can solve those problems. You got to ask the questions up front. Otherwise, if you go straight into your sale process, you'll be in it. And at the end of the conversation, they'll tell you, I have a Direct Express card. And you just sold him on Americo and he can't use it. Right. So you've got to ask those things up front. Does that make sense? Cool. Right, so cool. That's power questions. That's how we set the table with the explanation of the process of what's going to happen today. That way they're not confused. Now, outside of that, I think the next thing that we do is we look for the why and what they're doing. And we try to, because we're selling life insurance, right? So life insurance is simple. We all will die, whether today, tomorrow, or 40 years from now. We all will. So with life insurance, we don't have to like sell you on the idea that you're going to die. That's going to happen. You know that already. But what we do have to do is figure out how to create urgency to make them want to take care of this today, not tomorrow. That's really the only problem because they've already filled the form out. I don't care if they're looking for quotes. They're just wanting a quote. They didn't want someone to call them. Doesn't matter. Their name and information is attached to this form, and they were remotely interested in getting information on life insurance. So now we have to create urgency to make sure they do it right away. And we kind of do that in this process of finding the why and kind of painting the picture. So if you want to go over that.
Absolutely. So when you're finding this why out, that's extremely valuable. This is definitely when you want to have a pen and paper out, writing down things that they're telling you so that way you can use it, for your benefit, right? So obviously it's an emotional buy. Most people don't just go out and just buy life insurance. They need to be kind of sold. So you can use this time to gain the information that you need to be able to actually sell them on why they were looking, why they should get it, and why they should go ahead and commit now. Asking specific questions. One of the first questions I ask is, if you were to pass away yesterday, who would be taking care of your funeral and final expenses today? And I don't say anything. I let them tell me. Now they tell me that name. I'll make sure I write that down. I'm going to continue to keep using that throughout the entire presentation. Once I ask that, okay, your son, perfect. Now, does your son live local? Is he live in a different state? Where about are they? Oh, okay. Now I know they live in a different state, so they would have to travel. So I'm able to calculate all these different things and use it for my benefit. Asking them, have you ever had life insurance before? You haven't. Okay. Well, what's got you looking for it now? Did you lose someone recently? They tell me. Man, now, my tone goes down. I'm apologetic. I'm sorry. Was that, what kind of has you, looking for life insurance today? They tell me, so just asking specific questions like that to truly get their why. Why are you actually looking for this? Then I'm able to use that against them.
Boom. So with finding the why, kind of what that sounds like. So John, now obviously you filled out this request for life insurance. Usually when people do this, and John, I help about 15 families per day set their life insurance policies up. Usually they're doing it because they want to make sure that they're not, being irresponsible and leaving the burden of their funeral on someone else. And I say things just like that, right? It's like kind of like a jab where I'm like, hey, if you don't do this, you're kind of an idiot. That's how I talk, but in a very professional, respectful way, right? So I say that and I say, hey, John, a lot of times people fill this out because the last thing they want to do is be irresponsible and leave a burden on their family for their funeral. The other reason people fill this out is because maybe they have a large loan, like a mortgage, and they don't want to pass that burden on. And then sometimes people do it just for income replacement. What was the reason that you filled this out? And they'll pick one. Most of the time, it's just my funeral. I don't want anything else. They don't need anything else, just my funeral. Not a problem, John. Now, as of right now, who is actually responsible for handling your funeral if something happened to you right this second? Well, my daughter. Okay. Now, she local or can she be here pretty quickly to help you out? And I'm asking these questions in a way where it makes sense for them, but really what I want to do is get information that I can use against them. And what they're going to tell me now is, okay, well, no, she's actually out in Florida. Oh, okay. So she's not that far, but she's out. Okay. Any grandbabies? Oh yeah, I've got 3. Awesome. Now your daughter, is she working full time? She Stay-at-home mom, what does she do? Oh, she's a stay-at-home mom. That's awesome, man. Well, I love that for you. So what I'm hearing, John, and I just go back and repeat exactly what they just told me back to them. So, John, what I'm hearing from you is that the reason you feel this out is because the last thing you would want is your daughter, who's not working, has no source of income at all right now for herself other than her husband and 3 children, to have to pretty much pack her life up, get the children, hop on a plane, get all the way out here to Georgia to handle your funeral and somehow come up with $15,000 randomly. Is that why you feel this out? Yeah, I don't want her to go through anything like that. That's what happened to me and this person. And they confirm that this is what I want and this is why. But that's where I paint that picture and create that urgency of why they need this now. Because when you say life insurance for my funeral, they know my funeral costs money, but they don't think about, oh, I do have a daughter who's responsible for this. She does live across the country. She does have to fly out here. She does have 3 kids. She does have to abandon her responsibilities. She does have to come up with $15,000 out of nowhere. They don't think that deep into it. So when I put that out in front of them, it just makes them move a little bit quicker. So that's kind of how we find the why in the presentation. And then after we find the why, we're going through the medical. And if you want to go through the inventory sheet. So I don't know if you guys know what the inventory sheet is or not, but this guy didn't use it for a long time. Probably cost him a lot of money, and he could have helped a lot more people. But he uses it now, and he loves it. So if you want to kind of go over what that is and how you use it.
Absolutely. So financial inventory sheet, does everybody know what that is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you don't know, get with somebody who does know, because you need it. I didn't use it for a while. I was, obviously on telesales. I'm trying to get on and off as fast as possible. So in my head, I don't know why, but I felt like that took too much time. So I was only able to sell people that were able to be sold. Other people that actually took a skill set of figuring out their why, figuring out their actual income, figuring out how I can solve that problem and creating that problem. If they didn't have one, creating that problem and actually giving them that solution, I wasn't able to do that. So Josh, told me, hey, you need to be doing a financial inventory sheet. So that changed the game for me. One of the things I know for sure that immediate impact is, seeing their numbers as far as what they make and actually asking what your expenses are. Do you have any expenses outside of the mortgage, car note, boat, RV, asking these specific things? Obviously, you want to go through the medical question. I would do that. But the financial inventory part of it, asking those questions, whether it's a mortgage lead or not, always asking, getting those questions answered really changed the game for me. Because I don't know about you guys, but being new, we were actually talking about that earlier today. For some reason, we just want to put our budget on people, which makes no sense if we actually think about it, but it's very normal. So we want to show the smaller ticket, or man, that's a little too expensive. That's $300 a month. I wouldn't pay that. I won't even show them that option. And if you show them, you have no idea that they would actually probably go for it. But doing that financial inventory sheet, actually getting how much they make, what are your actual expenses, seeing how much is left over at the end of the day. For me, I could see that number and say, why would I not show this top dollar? Now I don't really care. And you can tell me, make $1,000 a month. I'm still going to show it because the worst thing you can tell me is no. But that financial inventory sheet is really what impacted me, and having a physical copy and actually filling it out, that helped me to actually do it. And so I fill it out now. I pretty much have it memorized. But the financial inventory sheet definitely was a game changer for me. So if you don't use it, you need to use it on every single presentation. Right, Mel?
Yes.
Cool. So financial inventory sheet, like you guys have probably heard this a million times and used it, and it's great, but why, right? So the inventory sheet itself, it's just a sheet of selling cues. It's just lets you know where to go, how to solve the problem, because that's all we do. We just solve problems. And the better we get at solving the problems, the quicker we can get in our presentations. To be honest, there's sometimes now, it wasn't like this since day one, but now with how long I've been here and how long I've been doing this, I can get onto a call, figure out in the first 2 minutes what we're doing, and be pitching options that quick and be off in 10 minutes, because it's just about solving problems. It's not about all the other stuff. It's not about a script or words or any of that. How quick can you find a problem and solve it? So with your inventory sheet, there's several questions on that sheet that you guys might not even use because you don't think that it's important. For example, many of us there's a question that says, do you own or rent? And we know that there's a such thing called mortgage protection. So when they say, yeah, I own, you usually ask the question of, okay, great, what's your mortgage? When they say, no, I don't own, no one says, okay, great, do you rent? What's your rent amount? Like, not a lot of people ask that question. They just skip it. I always ask. Why? Because if he has a wife and he's renting and he dies, who pays the rent? His wife. So like the number matters. So these are just selling cues. If I ask this guy, great, what's your occupation? I'm retired. Okay, great. And then what's your approximate monthly income? Great. Well, he might have told me that this is only for him, but guess what I'll ask him? Okay, not a problem. Now, AJ, I know you said this is only for yourself, but your wife, does she work as well? No. I want to know, does his wife have any income? Because he could end up in the end, when I'm trying to sell him, tell me, well, no, she'll be okay. She makes six figures a year on her own. Well, I want to know up front. That way nothing can pop up on me in the end. So I'm asking those questions up front. I might ask him, and here's the deal. Let me show you an example. So when we ask the questions, it's like we're trying to figure out what their problems are and why they're even looking at this option. Because sometimes, let's say a 75-year-old, this is a problem that kept beating up on me in the beginning, someone older who put a request in for mortgage protection. And I could never solve it. I'm like, dude, what the heck? How do I get around this? And I was like, beat myself up about it one day. And I realized that most people have a problem that they don't even know what the actual problem is. They don't know that there's several ways to solve their problem, right? So, you'll get somebody who tells you, hey, Josh, I need $200,000 for my mortgage. Well, if you don't use your inventory sheet, all you know is this number. But if I use my inventory sheet tells me how much is he paying per month. Well, he's paying $1,000 per month, his mortgage. Well, then I ask him, okay, great. Are you paying anything extra per month? I pay an extra $100 per month. So there's some AP. He's paying $1,000 per month. How long is his mortgage? Well, I've actually had my house for a while now. I only owe 10 years left on it. But the reason I did this, because I just refinanced it. And my house, okay, John, great. What's your house worth? $500,000. Oh. So his house is actually worth $500,000. These are numbers that we would not get. You don't think to ask, but you see it on the sheet. If you use the sheet, you'll ask these things. Mm-hmm. So if the house is worth $500,000, he owes $200,000. He thinks this is his problem. That's not even a real problem, because this right here is fake. This is credit. Who cares? Right? It's not real money. So what happens is this is the actual number, which is how much his house is worth. And in between here, he has something called equity, $300,000. This is real money. This is his, that he actually busted his butt for the last 15 years, 20 years to save up $300,000 into his house. That's real cash. So John, I know you said you were looking at the $200,000, but I don't know if you know that you have an actual bigger problem. You have $300,000 of equity in your home. The way this works is, and we've already went through his medical, we've already went through his budget. For him to get this, he's paying nearly the same amount as his mortgage. And he cusses you out and hangs up and says no. Well, if I had asked all these questions, now I see, okay, the problem isn't what it is. He's got $1,000 on his mortgage every month. Hey, John, if something happens, or Mary, if something happens to John, do you plan on staying here or leaving? Mm-hmm. Well, I'll probably downsize and go back near my family. Okay, great. So you'll be moving. Got it. So John, I know you were looking at this here, but do you know how mortgage protection works? It pays off my whole house it pays off what's left of my house. No, the way it works is it actually takes care of the mortgage for you every single month. That way, if anything happened to you, the house wouldn't get taken away, because the way it works is, if you missed one payment, the bank's not going to if something happened to AJ right now, the bank's not going to come to AJ's wife and say, I need the full payoff right now. AJ's gone. They don't ask for that. All they ask for is the next payment. So John, as long as the next payment's coming in, they're never going to take the house. However, if you miss one, you miss two, you miss three, you're out, right? And what's going to happen is they're not only going to take your house, they're going to take the $300,000 that you have built into that house, and they're going to ruin your wife's credit as well, because you guys are both on that there. So now she's left without anything. So what this will do for you is it pays your mortgage every single month for 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months, 1 year, 2 year. And how simple it is just, this will be a $6K policy. This will be a $12K policy. This will be a $24,000 Americo policy. And guess what? So John, for 6 months straight, your wife doesn't have to worry about anything. Why would that be important to you? Well, because now she can do what she needs to do. She can properly, clean the house up, clean the house out, get it on the market and sell it the way it should be sold. The last thing you will want is one of these fancy investors coming by and giving her a lot less than what she should get. So when she has the proper amount of time to get through the grieving process and get the house sold properly, guess what she gets, John? $300,000. The problem solved. So for me, I've always used the inventory sheet because before, when I wasn't using it, all of these things here, I never knew. I never thought in my brain to ask them any of these questions here. And this policy might cost him nothing. Like this one might cost him $50. This one might cost him $100. This one might cost this guy, who knows, $180. He's already spending an extra $800. So the problem solves. But you got to use the selling cues that are on your inventory sheet, because if you don't, you're missing out a lot of information that they're giving you that explains to you exactly what you need to do and say to get the deal closed. It's almost the equivalent of you guys having a gun, going to a gun range, going to a gunfight, and never putting bullets in the gun. Doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm going to load up. So that's the way you guys go through your inventory sheet, kind of paint that picture. If you want to go through kind of the way you pitch your 3 options and close.
All right, perfect. So before I move on, thank you, John. His video, I don't know if y'all seen it, but how to sell equity protection to elders that changed. That's well.
Did you create that? Did you make that?
I did a video on it. I
Yeah.
made it up from scratch. I just made people start my own.
I watched one from I think Frank a long time ago.
Euphemia.
Frank Euphemia. Okay, cool.
I looked everywhere on YouTube and his video popped up.
I haven't watched yours yet. I got to go check that out.
I'm trying to get him to unlock it so I can watch it again because it literally changed. Okay, cool. That changed the game for me. That's exactly where I learned all of that from. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Cool. But as far as the next step, obviously you got all your ammo, right? Next step is simple. You've already created a problem. Now it's time to give them that solution. And so you're just going to give them, I always recommend giving them 3 options. We were talking about this earlier. Always show that hot dollar. There's no reason not to, so I'll show that, hey, this first option may not be, something that's going to be the best thing for you, but they do require me to show you everything that you could qualify for. So for this first option, let's say we're doing final expense, the $30,000 through Americo. I would always say, the benefit in this is not only is it going to cover your funeral and final expenses, it's going to give you a little bit of income protected as well. Because Josh, your wife, Barbara, she's not going to have the income that she's accustomed to having. So that's going to be in there as well for her. So a lot of people do like that route. But again, like I said, I do have to show you all your options. It may not make the most sense for you. So that's just going to be $220 a month. All right, so I want you to write down $220. This next option is going to be the most popular option. Now, the reason why is it's not only going to cover that funeral, but it's going to cover those final expenses like I stated, okay? The importance behind that is final expenses, unfortunately, most people, when they pass away, they actually don't pass away in their sleep, right? I'm sure you could agree. So most people actually rack up some money on their way out with hospital bills. So to make sure that Ms. Barbara is not going to be left with that, being responsible and taking care of her when you do pass, this is going to include that as well. So that might be $25,000. Show that, boom. This write down $120 a month. This last option, now this is going to be a starter option. The reason why people would go this route is if they're, low income, unemployed, whatever the case may be. The government has actually, gave you a huge price deduction here to make sure that you can at least get some type of coverage in place and be responsible and take care of your funeral. So the people that go that route, that's normally why they would go that route. And that's just going to be $87 a month. So based on these 3 options, what do you think is going to make the most sense for you financially? And I always say either the top one or the middle one. I never even mention the bottom one. Mm-hmm. And they normally choose the second one. So that's just what I do. And from there, you just go through the application. It's super simple.
Yeah. So what he's doing is we're trying to take the coverage amount and also the dollar amount that they're spending per month, and we're trying to spend it and show them why it's valuable. And we're also trying to here, let me write this down for you guys. So, and there's a ton of ways that you guys could actually do this, right? So all you're doing is none of it's real, right? There's 30,000, you can pitch 20, and you turn around and pitch 15 here. You can talk to someone who has a lower income and like this guy's making $800 a month and I got to pitch lower. No, you could turn around and pitch 15, 10, and 8 and use the same approach in everything. So all you're doing is you look at what could this money be spent on? That's all I ask myself, right? So one is income replacement, right? So for income replacement, because one person's work, two people are working, one of them's gone, or one person's working, now he's gone. So income replacement, we have funeral, we have final expenses. We can kind of separate these and say certain things. What else do we have? So funeral, we have, funeral final expenses, income replacement. We have mortgage stuff that it could go to. We have rent, right? We have all these different things that we could put into the presentation. So if I'm talking to someone here, what I like to do is I always like to add value with the numbers, because when I say, so John, go ahead and write down 30K and put down $188 next to it. Now put down 20K and put down $90. Now put down 15K and put down $70. It's cool. Like you'll get some sales and it works, like whatever. But what I like to do is add value, because these are just numbers and there's not really a lot of any value in that, I don't think, right? So what I like to do is $30,000, John. Now on this option here, this is this plan is for people who are really smart with their money. I always assign ownership. I always assign ownership to all of the coverage, right? And this is what I do. I say things that make people think and they want to roll with it. So John, this option here, the 30,000, this is a top program. It's for people who are really smart with their money, the ones who are already saving this per month anyways, and they understand the importance of life insurance, and they want to lock in the most as possible, because they know that as they get older, it's only going to get more and more expensive. But most importantly, they know that getting this will actually make them more money through the actual interest rate and whatnot. So this one here, it comes with $30,000 total. $10,000 is going to be for that funeral we talked about. It's so really, really important that you guys have that. Now, the other $20,000 is because, John, obviously your wife is depending on your income right now, and something happens to you. She's going to need some time to kind of figure out what's next. So that extra $20,000, that's going to be there for income replacement. Makes sense, John? Great. Now, with that one there is $188. Write that down for me. So now I've added value before I just give him a price. Right. I go down to your next one. And if you listen to me on this one here, I said funeral and income replacement, and I can mix it up however I want. Now I'm going down to 20,000. So John, this one here, this is probably the most popular type of plan. This is for people who really want to help their family, but they're on a kind of more on a budget. This one here has $20,000 of coverage, but what it does is it gives you $10,000 to wipe out the entire funeral. And it comes with an extra $10,000 built into it to make sure that any of the final expenses are taken care of. The reason they call it funeral and final expenses is because it's not just a funeral, but a lot of times we die in our sleep. I mean, we don't always die in our sleep. We die in the hospital and we rack up medical bills on our way out. So this one here will make sure that 3 months down the road, your wife doesn't get a random bill in the mail that she's responsible for. Make sense, John? Great. So go ahead and put down $90 for that one, 90, right? So I'm just adding value, 15,000. Now, John, this one here comes with a $10,000 for the funeral built into it. First off, I started off like this. So this here is the starter program, John. This program is for people who are on unemployment or on Social Security income, right? That's what I say. And it just assigns ownership to where they feel like, oh, that one's for me. Sometimes they just, that one, right? So 15,000 is for the starter program, people who are on unemployment or Social Security income. So with this one here, they built that one for people who were on a more tight, strict budget, but wanted to make sure they weren't being irresponsible. So with this one, John, it's coming with $10,000 to cover the funeral and an extra $5,000 built in for inflation. Obviously, every few years, the price goes up and up and up. So I want to make sure that if something changes, we don't have to change your price. It's locked in forever, but the coverage is there. And now if the funeral is less, you keep the rest of it. Make sense, John? Great. So this one's $70. Go ahead and write that down for me. All right. Now, if you're able to qualify for this, like I said in the beginning, I don't make the final decisions. That's what the insurance company does. But if we can get you qualified, would you prefer to leave behind $30,000 to your family or $20,000? I don't even say anything about this option because I want somewhere to down close to. I can't afford any of those. That's too expensive. Okay, so the 20 is too expensive. You should go with the 15, right? And I down close here. But typically, I never get that. Usually, they pick this option right here. And very rarely, they'll go with this. And every once in a while, someone will grab that. And I kid you not, when you close it, I think every single time the application starts. Every single time. I don't remember a time where I haven't had the application actually start. What I always get is that when we get into the application, they stop me at social or banking sometimes, and we'll go through those too. But yeah, so that's the way we deliver it. So same scenario though. If we're over here with 15, 10, and 8, nothing changes. I can use these however I want interchangeably, right? So 15,000. This one here built with the funeral and final expenses. This one's built with the inflation program for extra 2,000 if the price goes up. This one's built for just the funeral itself. I can say whatever I want to say. It doesn't really matter. But I'm assigning ownership and I'm giving them value with the actual plan types. Any questions on that? Nope. Cool. All right. And all of these things that we're talking about, like even this scenario, this isn't like a telesales thing, right? This is if you're in the home, you say the same stuff. It works with whatever you're doing. So outside of that, I think the two biggest things, whether in home, well, I don't think so much in home with these two because you're in person, but with telesales, they can't see you. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know who you are. It's not the same. So this is one of the cons of telesales. And what that is that people stop us on social. They stop us on banking sometimes. So if you want to kind of break down how you enter into social first, because that's usually first on the application.
Right. So I ran into that a lot, especially in the beginning. So I do now what's called, to me, an upfront contract. So before I even get into the actual application, I'm just going to kind of brief them one more time on how the application is going to go. So I just say something simple. Hey, Josh, perfect. So the next step is simple. Again, we do have to see if we can actually get you approved. Application takes a couple minutes. It's just going to get some basic demographics, first name, street address, height and weight. They're going to check your social through they're going to check your medical records through your social. So we'll get that as well. From that point, we're just going to get your beneficiaries. We're going to put that benefit amount down that you said, the 30,000 there. And then from that point, we're going to put the payment information down, the routing and account number that you're going to want that to be drafted through. You don't need it right this moment if you don't have it on you, but we will need it in the next couple of minutes. So if you could just go ahead and start working on that. But if you could just give me the legal spelling of your first and last name for the recorded line. That's how I always start my applications. So from that point, if they do get to the social and I don't feel comfortable giving you that, I can go back to that upfront contract. But before I got into the application, I'm going to verify, is that fair? If you say yes to that, now I can use that against you if you ever try to give me that objection. So, no, I don't feel comfortable giving you that. No, I completely understand. I get it. Have you ever filled out anything for life insurance before? No, never. Okay, got it. No worries. So any life insurance company, they're going to need your social. Again, like I stated, and you agreed to, they're going to check your medical records through your social. So that's the only reason why they would need that. So what's that social again? And I just don't say anything. And they normally give it to me. Payment information, pretty much the same thing. Because I get that upfront contract, if they try to say, well, I don't feel comfortable giving you my payment information. Completely understand. I can go back to the upfront contract. I get it. I completely understand. But again, we do have to verify whether or not you can actually get approved for this coverage. I know how important it is to you. So they are going to need that payment information down. So what's that routing and account number? If they give me another objection, I'll ask them, So let me ask you a serious question. You don't mind? Okay. Anytime I get a little bit of static here, it's normally either because it's one, you don't understand the coverage. Two, the benefit amount doesn't make sense. Or three, it's me. So is it me? No, it's not you. You've done a great job. Okay, perfect. So is it the coverage or is it the cost? And I just let them tell me. And so if I have to make any adjustments or, go over the why again with them, I'll do that just to make sure we reconfirm. But, we try to do a pretty good job of making sure that price is going to be something they can afford. Josh, he's big on that. You might say, yep, give me that $30,000 option. And he will literally talk you down to, let's just start at 25 just to make sure that you can afford that. I've seen him do that. And that saves chargebacks, that saves all types of stuff because they just want to go, you sold them. So just making sure and verifying that is something they're going to, they can afford. Make it logical. Hey guys, how were you planning on paying for your life insurance? Okay, perfect. No worries. So we just need that routing number. What's the name of that bank? I can actually look your routing number up and then just keep going from there.
Boom. Is there any new agents here? You're new first 90 days, anybody? Okay, couple. So One thing that I always notice when it comes to like the social and banking, I think we all go through it, but when it's time to ask for like personal information, it's kind of scary. And whether in home, whether, on telesales, doesn't really matter. So for me, first off, I like to kind of prepare them, not even prepare them for it. I don't do what he does in terms of telling them up front, hey, I'm going to ask you this, that, and that on the application. He does that. It works great for him. I haven't tried that, to be honest. So for me, the way I approach it is when I'm asking for social or banking or whatever, I know I'm going to ask for that. So I try to make them feel as comfortable as possible throughout my presentation. So I'm always assigning ownership to them as if they're purchasing this and they're going through the buyer's process for one. But I use things, for example, in the application, one of the first things they ask for is the email address. They also ask for the home address. And most agents, they take those things and say, okay, great, what's the best email for you? What's the best home address for you? There's no value there. And they don't feel good. They don't even know what you're doing. They're just filling something out. It's their information. What I say is things like this. I plant seeds just to make them feel more comfortable. Perfect. So, John, when we get done going through this, everything's going to be sent over to your email. That way you have everything for your records immediately. What's the best email to get that sent over to? Well, that's a lot more valuable than saying, what's your email? Right? So I like to, it makes them feel comfortable. And then when I go down to their home address, awesome. Now, like I said, we're going to send everything over to your email immediately. But on top of that, we're going to send over the hard copies to your physical house. That way you have that for your records as well. So what's the best home address for you? That, again, makes them feel really good. They're confident and feel comfortable that I'm telling them these things and they're getting all these documents. And they always say, well, I want to see something first, right? So I just say these things up front, make them feel great, and then I get this information. Now, again, most people just say, what's the best address for this? Just go an extra step to make them feel it. Hey, John, like I said, we're going to be emailing all these documents over to you immediately. But on top of that, I'm also going to make sure these all get mailed out to your actual house. That way you have that for your record as well. What's the best home address for you? Those two things make them feel great. And then when I go into the social, I go into it a lot more confident now. One thing I notice about most people is that when it comes to social, they go through the entire application like this. John, what's your birthday? Spell your first name, your last name. And then what's your social? That's weird. They're immediately sketched out by you. I promise you. Like, we're completely normal, and then it's time to ask for my social. It's very odd. So when you ask for the social, what's your birthday? What's your home address? What's your email? What's your height and weight? Awesome. What's the social? Everything's the exact same. But when I ask for the social, the one thing that I do is kind of set it up this way. I'll say, awesome. I get all the information. I usually skip the social and come back to that after getting that first information. And I'll say, okay, perfect, John. So I'm going to put you through the verification process now. Please be loud and clear for me, okay? All right. Now, you are a U.S. citizen, correct? Yes. Okay. And then what city and state were you born in? Atlanta, Georgia. Perfect. And then verify your social. Confirm your social. What is your social? However you want to ask, but I put them through that process. They're like, oh, it's a recorded line and something's going on. Yeah, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they just go. They don't budge. So I approach the social just like that, right? And if they give me any feedback, the other side of it, guys, is that we have to realize there's a big, like in sales, there's a big difference between a legitimate objection and then someone having a concern. Big difference. They're not the same thing. So when someone says, what do you need that for? That's not an objection. They're just asking you a question. So we don't have to like puke all over them about how non-medical options and this is going to go through and the promise nothing's going to come out. We don't have to do that. All we have to do is say it's for your application. That's it. Like literally that is the entire response. Why do you need my social? For your application. What is it, John? It's 1, 2, and they start. That's the whole answer. Now, if it's an actual legit objection, they will voice that to you. They will tell you, well, yeah, I know that, but like, why do I need to give you that, blah, blah, blah. And now you can give them a logical answer, which is, well, these are non-medical options. They have to look at your medical records, John, to see if you're healthy or not for the plan. They can't give you thousands of dollars without knowing who you are or if you actually qualify for this plan. So go ahead and repeat that social for me. This is on a secure website. And now I can go to it, but I don't have to go through that first and do all this selling on why you should give it to me. The answer is just, and I promise you 6 times out of 10, when I just say for your application, they just give it to me. Yeah. It's just that simple, right? So that's one approach. Now, same thing with the banking. Like that's social. Any questions on that at all? So that's social. The next thing is the banking. You go through the banking process, same approach. I've already made them feel really secure with the way I got the email, the home address, the social. They gave me the social. Now I'm going through the banking process. Well, when I get down through that process, right before I ask them for the banking, I always say, perfect. Looks like you're pre-qualified for this plan. Is that the truth? Yes. Why? That's your job. You're a field underwriter. Your actual job is to pre-qualify people on what plan. Otherwise, if you know they should not qualify for that plan, why would you submit the application for it? Your job is to pre-qualify people for an application, submit it, and see if the insurance company will approve them. So I pre-qualify. Perfect, John. Looks like you're pre-qualified for this option. And then let me see here. Who do you bank with? Wells Fargo. Great. Did you open that up in Atlanta, Georgia? Yes, I did. Okay, perfect. Google routing number, Atlanta, Georgia. Wells Fargo. It pops up. Perfect, John. Confirm this for me. When I put your information to the system, it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that the correct routing number? I'm not sure. Okay, go ahead and grab a check. I just want to make sure I don't put the wrong information on your system here. They will decline you. Give me a second. And they get up and they move and they'll get it. And they give it to me. Read that to me again. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, perfect. And then go ahead and verify the account number and boom. Or they might say a concern, which is, who do you bank with? Blah, blah. Is this your account number? Is this your routing number? What do you need that for? For your application. That's the answer. It's for your application. Like, that's how simple it is, honestly. And then, if it's a legitimate concern or objection, they'll say, well, why? I know, but why do I need this? Am I approved yet? Well, first off, I already set it up properly with, hey, it looks like you're pre-qualified. We're going to the last stage here. You need to put down your verify your banking information. So they already heard that they're pre-qualified. So that's not one of the things like, well, I want to see if I can get it qualified first. And then I don't really get that in my process because I tell them that they're pre-qualified up front, right? So now I'm telling them that this is the last step. So once I go through the banking, if they object to me, I tell them, sometimes I get to the point where it's a legitimate concern. They say, I don't feel comfortable giving my banking out over the phone or to a stranger. I don't want to give my routing and account number. And I just make them sound silly. And what I say is, okay, so wait, John, I'm sorry. I must have confused you. I don't need any of your personal information. And I try to detach the banking from personal. And what I say is, I don't need any of your personal information. I'm asking for the routing and account number. Like the same numbers on the bottom of your check. When a kid mows your lawn, you give it to them. That's what I'm asking for, the routing and account number. That's not personal. You give that to everybody. That's what checks are meant for. Don't ever give a debit card number. I don't need that. I don't want that. So go ahead and grab the routing and account number. And that's how I go about that. But I try to rewire what they think about the information because it's true. The routing and account number, if a random construction worker came to your house, you'll give them a check. Why would you give them your routing and account number? Doesn't make any sense. So I explain things through analogies to make them understand what's happening, and they're like, oh, he's right. Well, honey, let's just do it. And then they go through the process, right? So it's very simple, but you have to keep it simple. Don't turn it into this whole puzzle that you're trying to put together and explain to them how it's not medical options and you promised that nothing was going to come out this week, and don't do all of that stuff. Just, you're pre-qualified for the plan here, boom, go through the process. Why do you need my social? For your application. Why do you need my banking? For your insurance application. That's why we need the information. So any questions on that? Nope. Cool. All right. So that's how we close. And I always let people know up front, right then and there. The other side of it is that, kind of solidifying the business, cementing your business. That way you don't get a lot of chargebacks and whatnot. We like to let people know up front. Like, we don't walk out of a house for in-homes and we don't leave telesales without telling people that they're approved. For one, I don't want to create more work for myself. We had someone like Caitlin Blackburn doing over 100 families per month. And that adds up. And what's it do? Well, when you have customer service role, you have to keep calling everybody back because you didn't tell them that they're approved. What happens is you create a problem for yourself because now you got to staff somebody out to do it for you and spend more money, or you've got to do it, which takes time away from making money yourself. Or even when you do it, guess what? You call everybody and they're like, well, I don't want anything coming out until you call me first and let me know I'm approved. And you call them 10 times every day. They don't answer the phone. It comes out. They call you back saying, I told you not to. I called you 10 times, bro. You didn't answer the phone. So it's really your fault. Or I could just solve everything by saying, hey, John, 1 second here is going to let us know the results. And before I submit that, what I always do is kind of just get their buy-in to make sure that we're on the same page. Now, John, before I submit this here, I take my job very, very seriously. They do grade me on my quality of business as well. So I want to make sure that you fully understand the program that we went over today. This will be $30,000. The price is $188,188, and the first payment will be coming out within 2 to 3 business days. Will the money be in your account? No, it won't be there. Okay, so John, we've got to figure out, when do you get paid next? Well, I wanted to start next month. I don't do that. I'll down close right now. I don't do the next month thing, because if you don't have the money right now, why would you have it next month? If you're on Social Security income and you've got, sometimes even when it's like they get paid on the 3rd, and then it's a 10th, and they say don't have any money. And I'm confused. I say, John, it's a 10th. You out of money right now, and it's not even like halfway through the month. How are you going to incorporate this bill into your expenses next month? Are you planning on cutting? I got to get down to what's going on here, because it's not about what you write and submitting and get the advanced on, is what you're keeping, right? So for me, I solidify up front before I submit anything. And when they tell me, yes, I have the money or whatever, and sometimes it's a scenario where I sell you $188 a month, and you tell me you don't have the money, I tell you, okay, great. Well, the way this works is, no, the state requires us to have it official within the next 7 days, because this is how it's going to work. You got to make sure that you can get protected in case something happens. So, John, what can you afford right now? And we can always increase it next month. Call me back. So if we got to go from 188 to 40, we're doing it. Because again, that's just what I like to do. But if you look at my America or any of my portals, 93%. No, I don't really get cancels. And to be quite frank, I haven't sold any deals in the last 2 months. So if something did fall off, it would drastically impact my numbers, which still haven't changed, because I'm solidifying it that way. So that's kind of the way we solidify the deals. We get off the phone. We make sure we leave them with all our information. So John, go ahead and grab that pencil and paper. Make sure you have my name, my number. Remember, you have a whole life plan. Write down whole life. So if anyone tries to call you, let them know that you're taken care of. Josh got you taken care of. You have a whole life plan. Write down cash value. It builds cash value. Write down, star this. The rates don't change. They never will change. Write that down, John. Okay, great. Got it. The company name, write that down, John. Got it. Awesome. Hey, if you need anything, I'll try to get referrals, whatever. If you need anything, you can call me any time of the day. I work for you guys. Don't call the company. It'll take you 45 minutes to sit on hold. You call me, I'll answer right away. Any questions at all? All right. If you don't get that packet in the mail, call me. I don't want to be worried about you. Cool? See you. I don't have any customer service jobs. I don't have to call back in. I've never had a call to Americo and do anything for a client. So that's kind of how we solidify the deals. That's the telesales kind of process. I know we don't have a ton of time. If you guys have any questions on telesales, we can answer that.